As we approach the 13th anniversary of Bealtaine Cottage, I've decided to show you some images of what Bealtaine looked like on the very first day that I saw the cottage and the land. So I do have a few photographs of the interior of the cottage. A lot of the photographs though got lost when I had a little accident with my computer some years back. But I do have some that I've printed out. So we'll start outside. So 13 years ago there was just the house here, the cottage here, on 3 acres of land. None of the outbuildings, in fact there was no outbuildings at all. So we'll start with the first photograph, and what we'll use as a marker, and by the way this is almost exactly the same time of year. These photographs were taken in April. The one taken down at the end of the lane was taken in late April, early May, because I was here for about a week in total, and so there was a whole series of photographs taken over the course of that week. So the first one, and I'm going to put it down here on the ground and then get a shot of it for you. Okay, so there's some trees there over on the boundary line. That's the edge of my property. We'll use those as a marker. They're ash trees. And if we look here, this is the same shot from the same perspective 13 years ago. You can see Slievenair in there in the background. You can see the ash trees. This was the land. So we're looking at poor land, designated poor land. Rushes, a little bit of grass, some scrubby bushes. They weren't very high, they were just sort of scrub that had grown. Barbed wire fences, some rubbish also on the land. You can see that there to the left. So now we look up again, and that's exactly the same view. I'm stood in the same position as I was 13 years ago. Now, just to remind you, there's been no people on this land planting or working. It is myself alone. I have done all the planting, all the work, with the exception of a little bit of help when it comes to any of the building work or any of the renovation work I did on the cottage, and some help with the tunnel as well. So that's the same angle, 13 years later. Okay, we'll pick these up. We'll go around the front and we'll go to the next view, which was taken at the very top of the land. So opposite the door of the cottage. Oh, sorry. These little photographs blowing up. So we're going to go to the little path that leads down the bank here. So this is the same position as I stood in 13 years ago. So again, we put the photograph down here on the ground, and there we go. You can see Kilronan Mountain over there in the background. There's the laneway. See the lane? The driveway of the cottage. This is the bank, and this is the perspective. So you can see it was fenced off with a lot of barbed wire and rushes, grass, some scrubby bushes. Very, very wet, very boggy, very marshy. No proper drainage on this land. So now we'll look, standing in the same spot 13 years later. That's the top of the driveway there. There's Kilronan Mountain over in the background. And this is now looking down the land, so we're looking north. Now if you look again on this photograph, there's a little cottage there on the right hand side. There's the date, by the way, April 04. And if we look and point the camera in the direction of the cottage, you can no longer see that. It's completely obscured by the planting. So I've planted over 1,000 trees, probably twice as many bushes and shrubs, and the same amount of ground cover. And as I was saying yesterday, it's quite a complex level of canopies. Okay, the final photograph was taken down at the very bottom of the driveway, outside what is now the gate. There was no gate on the property. This was just a muddy track. So one of the first things I did was to put this little roadway in order to be able to get up and down to the cottage. So we're going to walk down. I'll point the camera in towards the... Hello, beauty. Hello, little one. I have fed you, darling. I have fed you. So we just point this in at the planting. So it's very dense. It's not possible to see in. Over the 3 acres. You can see I've planted both sides of the driveway. I don't want to run this video for very long because I completely ran out of battery yesterday. Now you can see in there, you can see the kindling. I do collect a lot of wood now from the land. Just look up that way as well. And of course the bird song is incredible. I'm going to go down. And again we're pointing in towards the pond now. That's part of the drainage system that I had put in over the first few months that I was here, and I write about this in the book. There will be a link underneath this video to a page on the website where you can buy the book. Of course, the title of the book, A Cottage and 3 Acres. That's what the place was listed as, a cottage and 3 acres. So what I'll do is open the gate here. And then go to the very point of the laneway where I stood 13 years ago to take this photograph. So, precisely here. Okay. And that's the photograph. Sorry, just hold up my cloak. Oh. There we go. That's the photograph. There's a for sale sign there. Taken exactly at the same time of year as we are today. Pan up. That's now the view. You can no longer see the cottage, of course, with over 1,000 trees planted. The cottage will no longer be seen. It is now a cottage in the woods. So there we go. 13 years. And again, I stress the fact that it was only myself planting trees. No one else worked on the land here with me. I worked on my own. And a lot of the trees and the shrubs I've grown from seed or from cuttings. I had a very limited budget. In fact, most of the time the weekly budget for planting was no more than €3 or €4. So I became quite adept at growing plants and trees from seed and from cuttings. So 13 years ago I started the Bealtaine project, as it's become known. And the plan was to take some of the poorest agricultural land and on a north-facing slope. Although I would have bought better land if I could have afforded it, to be honest. But because I was faced with a situation where this was all I could afford, it then became a challenge and thus developed the Bealtaine project. And the aim was to do everything myself, because I wanted to be able to say years later, well, if a middle-aged woman can do this on her own, then what's stopping you? Because of course, yes, I have heard those little statements from many people who said things like, oh, you're so lucky. Well, luck had nothing to do with it. It was decision making. I made a decision that I would come back to Ireland and I would try my damnedest to serve Mother Earth in whatever way I could. I never imagined in my wildest dreams that there would be such regeneration from just one person working the land. That never occurred to me. So over recent years I've just been blown away by the whole energy of the place and the way everything's developed, and then the way everything's developed also online, you know, through social media and through the internet. Because even when I started writing the blog, when I began the website bealtainecottage.com, I never imagined in my wildest dreams that there would be so many people who would be so genuinely heartfelt, interested in not just what I was doing, but in trying to figure out ways that they too could do the same. And so it has now taken on a life of its own. And this is one of the reasons as well why you may once or twice see my face on video, but it hasn't happened yet, let's put it that way. A lot of the permaculture sites, a lot of the permaculture videos, or videos about, you know, sustainable living, there's usually someone's face stuck in the very front of the screen. And I often think to myself, I don't want to see your face, I want to see what it is you're doing. Because in many ways I get fed up looking at people and listening to people. I'd rather interact with what they're doing. And so this is the reason why I've always, you know, got the camera pointing away from me, pointing in front, so you can see what I can see, because that's what I want to share with you. So I think it's just to change that one little letter, isn't it? You know, you take the word ego and you take out the G and you replace it with C, and you have eco. So I'm showcasing Mother Earth, I'm not showcasing myself. And I am often invited to go and give talks or to travel about and you know, visit communities and talk with them about what it is I do. But again, I don't see the need for that, because you can see what it is that's happening here. I think there's over 200 videos now up on YouTube from Bealtaine Cottage. No advertisements on any of them. I'm not interested in making money from those videos. Those videos are there for people to gain inspiration, to gain confidence, to look at what it is, you know, one now 61-year-old woman has done and continues to do. And to take inspiration from that. Because, again, you know, my mantra is, oh, for goodness sake, if I can do it, I'm quite sure you can do it better than me. You know? So there you are. I've shared that beginning and end of the 13-year project. So I hope it continues for at least another 13 years and after, because this place now doesn't actually need me. Listen to it. Plenty of life here. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed watching this short video. I'm putting a link below here. If any of you are interested in the book, buying the book is a way of supporting the Bealtaine project, and it's also a way to keep me paying my mortgage, which I had to take out at the very beginning of this, of course. Nothing comes for free, well, certainly not when it comes to property and whatever. And you know, in order to secure the land, I had to buy it. And one of the best things I've ever done. But I'll be paying that mortgage until I'm 67. So far so good. I've managed to keep it going, managed to service that debt. So buying the book does help. It does help me. It helps me to raise my standard of living just a little bit. Take me out of the worrying about whether I've got all 367 euros together for the 14th of each month or not. But more important than that, I hope you take inspiration from what it is I've started. I say I've started because you know, it's all doing its own thing now. Thanks for watching.